Hi, and I'm going to begin with a bow. Glad you're here with us, week 11. I want to begin first with an apology for not having a video for you last week. The week just got away from me. And here we are, Unit 11. I have couple other items related to the course looking ahead. That is, Unit 14 is going to be a light unit. Here in the U.S., that's the week of Thanksgiving holiday. So Naropa closes down for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week. So really for us, we have just a 2-day week for that class. So I'm not going to introduce much new material, but it'll be a chance to look at some integrative material. A list of applications of transpersonal psychology and to revisit those core concepts. So a chance to catch up on your work up to that point, and also especially to put time into your paper that's due the following week. So a light unit for 14. And Unit 15 is your paper. As you know, it builds on your first paper, the definition of transpersonal psychology. So I hope you'll take that definition and now, with the benefits of most of a full semester, to go back and revise, polish, refine that definition. Also to add some good in-depth critical thinking about the field, its advantages, its disadvantages, its values, its limitations, and to really bring that together into your paper. The third part of the paper is, as you know, an application. So apply transpersonal psychology to a specific application. You could say what a transpersonal approach might bring to that application, maybe what that application might have to add to the field of transpersonal psychology. So there may be two-way contributions. Or it may simply be what a transpersonal view would look like. So in preparation for that, I want to invite you to let us know what you're thinking about in terms of your application. You can just run an idea by us being the class here. You could just run your idea by us. Maybe people have some ideas for references or ways to think about it. I might have something to say and recommend in terms of making your application more specific or maybe even broadening it. Usually my recommendations are about making it more specific, if I have any. So I think the virtual office is the best place to do this. Bring your applications there. Just let us know what you're thinking about now. And that discussion, of course, can stay open through the rest of the semester. And this week, we turn our attention to one of the specific kinds of transpersonal experiences that has interested transpersonal psychologists. So we spent the first part of the course on the transpersonal context, understanding the assumptions, the roots, the orientation of transpersonal psychology. Then we've looked at some of the practices or processes, especially meditation and ritual. Now we move into the third phase of the course, and that is the content of transpersonal psychology. We'll spend a couple weeks on this before we devote the last part of the course to integration. And I could have started with a broader view of transpersonal experiences, but I decided to save that for next week. And this week to dive right into a particular type of transpersonal experience. We call it spiritual emergency or spiritual emergence with difficulty. Some people have called them mystical experiences with psychotic features. So I think right there you get a sense of what the field is looking at. Very disturbing states in which a person's basically unable to function in their lives that have a deeply transpersonal component to them and have a positive outcome. So we hope to support people going through these experiences in such a way that they can move more quickly and more fully into that positive outcome of these difficult experiences. You may remember early in the course I referred to a dual set of concepts that Walsh and Vaughan used, reductionism and elevationism. I think that especially applies here to the concept of spiritual emergencies. So you remember reductionism reduces all positive, spiritual, mystical, transpersonal experience into a pathological framework. So clearly most of psychology has been reductionistic in this way. Reductionism is also used in a broader way in terms of the levels of analysis. So we reduce our explanations of experience to behavioral or even physiological phenomena. And the risk is that we lose the real heart of the experience. So that's a meaning of reductionism. But the way we're using it this week, the way Walsh and Vaughan use it, is that reductionism reduces all transpersonal experience to essentially a pre-personal experience or a pathology. Now, pair that with another sort of error that is common in transpersonal psychology, and that is elevationism. The error of elevating every disturbing experience into a transpersonal realm. So every sort of disturbance becomes a mystical experience, a spiritual experience, or a transpersonal experience. Now, some would argue that that's not an error, that every experience is transpersonal or mystical. But really, I think the more common, more considered, and more mature view in transpersonal psychology is that human beings are subject to a whole range of experiences, from difficult kinds of disorders to the most positive, open, free, alive, transpersonal experiences. And that to truncate that range by cutting off either the pathological or the transpersonal would be to narrow human experience. Spiritual emergencies for many psychologists and within the medical system, the psychiatric and medical system, spiritual emergencies are often pathologized or reduced. The error of reductionism seems to carry the day. However, it's also an error, in my opinion, to elevate every pathological experience, every difficult experience, into a transpersonal experience. So, to summarize, if we talk about many kinds of spiritual emergencies as a mystical experience with psychotic features, we should also be able and willing to talk about psychotic experiences with mystical features, where somebody's neurochemistry is so off or their sense of reality is so disconnected from themselves and from the real world, living in a world of fantasy and delusion rather than contact with their own experience, without the ability to do some kind of basic reality testing, that there are psychotic experiences like that that still have some content or some overlay of spirituality or transpersonal. So I would invite your thoughts about this, about the full range of relating to spiritual emergencies, and mostly our attention is going to go to the spiritual emergencies that are truly a spiritual emergence with difficulty. Spiritual emergency. So, actually maybe I'll leave you with a joke around this topic. The point that I'm trying to make here is that we need to account for the full range of human experience. But did you hear about the one-armed fisherman? caught a fish this big. If we don't have the full measure of human experience, then we don't really know what we're dealing with. So here's to the full measure of what's possible for human beings, suffering as well as ecstasy, difficulty as well as enlightenment. So glad you're here this week. I'm going to bow. See you online.